It's about being authentically you and consistently delivering on your brand promise. And above all, it's about leaving an impression that keeps your ideal audience coming back for more, right? Welcome to the Master Your Business podcast, where we bring you the best in branding, marketing, and customer experience strategies. I'm Deirdre Martin, your host. And if you've been asking yourself how to level up your growing business, your marketing, your customer experience, or how to make more of an impact with your brand, this show is for you. You'll discover actionable tips and insights to help businesses just like yours gain clarity and illuminate the path to success. Train with industry experts, learn sales and marketing strategies, business and mindset hacks, and be inspired by authentic entrepreneurship stories. As your host, I'll share the no-nonsense advice that accelerated my journey from boring bank manager to industry thought leader in marketing and customer experience. Learn how I made the leap into the world of six-figure success, digital courses, keynote speaking, and co-authoring a #1 bestseller in just 1 year. Together with interviews from industry experts, this show ensures you're seen, heard, and hired by your ideal clients. Join our growing community of subscribers and let the Master Your Business podcast empower you to tackle your most significant challenges on your path to business success. Don't miss out. It's your turn to learn from the best and master your dream business. Today, I'm joined by guest Bruno Martin, who is sleeping soundly on the floor beside me, but for how long? Who knows? Anyway, in today's episode, we're getting down to the business of branding, and not just any kind of regular branding, unforgettable branding. Because you're not just another face in the crowd of professional service providers, are you? No, you're not. And that's exactly why today's episode is called The Art of Being Unforgettable, Crafting a Standout Brand Identity. So why should you care about branding? Well, here's why. When done correctly, it acts like your silent partner working for you 24/7, promoting your ethos and your values and magnetizing clients who resonate with your values. In essence, your brand is what makes your first impression. And let's face it, no one ever forgets a bad one, right? Now, before we dig into the core of today's episode, could I please borrow your ear for just a moment? I have a humble request. Would you do me the honor of sharing this episode with your circle of go-getter entrepreneurs? You know, the ones who are passionate about serving their clients well. This episode could sprinkle maybe a little bit of extra magic on their day-to-day business practices. And spreading the word does have a domino effect, my friends. It really, really does. More subscribers basically means more ratings, more reviews, and all of that ends up summoning the podcast algorithm so they look favorably upon the podcast. But it means then that, you know, the algorithm will beam out our message to more amazing listeners just like you, who can truly benefit from some of the practical nuggets of wisdom that are shared here on the show. So here's me, Deirdre Martin, thanking you in advance for your help. You are not just another listener or a random listener. You are part of our podcast family. So thank you. First things first, your brand needs personality. Just like you, it should have characteristics that make it unique. Your brand personality can be anything that resonates with your target audience. It could be professional yet approachable, playful yet reliable. I think mine's a little bit like that, or innovative yet grounded. The key here is consistency. Don't be a chameleon in the business desert. Imagine meeting someone who's jolly one day, but maybe the next day they're so curt, they're on the brink of being rude. You'd be thinking, this person has split personalities, wouldn't you? Now, think about your brand behaving in the same inconsistent way. It confuses your clients, and confused clients don't buy, right? I've heard this from my business coaches. It's in the story brand framework. A confused mind never buys. They just don't. I always tell my clients when we're working through this as part of my BMC method that your brand is like a person. It needs a distinct character, something that people will either accept or reject. You want people to love you or loathe you, But what you don't want are people who sit in the fence in the middle, right? Fence sitters are not your ideal client. If you take Apple, for example, and I think it's amazing, actually, most people are like Apple or Android, right? It's Samsung or Apple. Most people are, there's very few who are on the fence. Most people are one or the other. And we see it in our family at home, right? And when we go for family meetings, there's like one crowd of Samsung sitters on one side of the table, and then there's the Apple sitters on the other side of the table. Seriously, they're very distinct. And they drive opposing viewpoints and opinions when it comes to which brand to choose. But Apple's brand personality exudes innovation. They have this minimalist design, and that comes through in their messaging as well, but it still has a sort of a premium personality, right? And that's consistent across all their products, be it the iPhone to the MacBook. And basically, if you think about it this way, a brand personality that flip flops will only make your customers flop away, right? That's exactly what happens. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about your brand style. Visual cues are the shortcut to the human brain. Let me explain what I mean by that. Take your brand's logo, color palette, and the fonts that you use. They should all communicate your brand personality. So, for example, are you a sophisticated brand? If so, then you're not going to have a font like Comic Sans. They are not for you, my friend. But you get the idea. Your brand style should be thoughtful and deliberate and clearly reflected in your visual choices. And that even comes down to the fonts that you use. So again, let's use a well-known brand as an example. Coca-Cola as an example. They have this red, bold color on their labels. It's unmistakable color, and they have also an unmistakable script font, right? Their dynamic ribbon, all these elements, they work really well together to reflect a friendly, energetic, and timeless personality. And those visual choices that you make can be how your Instagram profile looks or the types of photos that you take. If you're not sure what to do about your brand style or where to start, I suggest go and look for some professional help. I don't mean a therapist, by the way, but I do talk about a graphic designer. That's what I'm talking about here. I am talking about a graphic designer. A graphic designer wouldn't hurt. If those visuals are not your area of expertise, if it's so far removed from your skill set, investing in a graphic designer is going to help you. Okay, now a major part of your brand style is your brand voice. Imagine if your brand were a person, how would it talk? And a question I love to throw at my clients is, if your brand was a celebrity, who would it be? Mine is Oprah Winfrey. Seriously. I've had brands who people have said, their brand voice, their celebrity brand voice is Warren Buffett, Mel Robbins, Jennifer Aniston, David Attenborough, to name but a few. You know what? I'm going to have to get you to DM me on social media, DM me on LinkedIn or Instagram, and tell me, who is your celebrity brand voice? I love hearing them. Okay, so I was actually losing the run of myself there. But in terms of how your brand sounds, it's important to kind of distinguish what that voice is going to be like. So, other things that can help you decipher that is figuring out, would your brand be formal and technical, for example, or is the type of tone more casual and jargon free, where, if you were a financial brokerage or consultancy firm, your brand voice could be knowledgeable, yet warm and friendly. Whereas if you're a graphic design service, it might be creative and enthusiastic and, really positive and out there. Just make sure that your brand voice aligns with your brand personality and your target audience. So an example of this actually is one of the social media platforms, LinkedIn themselves, right? LinkedIn, for example, they maintain a professional yet accessible voice. So whether it's their platform or their customer service, the tone is consistent across all of their touch points, and it perfectly matches their brand personality. And this is one of the first things I work on when I'm working with clients to help them nail their messaging. It's not as simple as just figuring out, what your customers want and how to get across your brand story right, we actually focus first on nailing their brand tone of voice so it sounds how you want it to sound. And something else that can really influence this is your brand's archetype. Now, I'm not going to get into that on this episode because I think that's probably an episode in its own right. And I might do a whole show on that in the future. Anyway, this brings me to the last point, which is your brand identity. And basically, your brand identity is the culmination of your brand personality, style, and voice. It's the big picture of how you want your business to be perceived. And if you think about your company's mission and values, does your brand reflect them? It should. Your brand identity should be a bit like a beacon to your ideal client. So when they stumble upon your website or your LinkedIn or your Instagram profile, they should instantly feel, this is exactly what I've been looking for, right? Just think of Tesla. Oh my gosh, if you've driven a Tesla, seriously, I've driven one. I would love one. It's just not practical for me, right? But I would love a Tesla. I have driven one. We had one for a weekend a couple of years ago, and I went, oh my gosh, this is my ideal car. But circumstances have changed now. I'm pulling a horse box around at the weekend. So, a Tesla won't do that for me. But moral of the story is, think about Tesla. Their brand identity screams innovation, sustainability, and luxury. Now, it mightn't look luxurious on the outside, but trust me, folks, if you've ever driven one, you'll know it feels luxurious on the inside and a bit sexy, I have to say. But what my point is that this tone and feeling and style and identity, this resonates with their target market. And remember, the art of being unforgettable is not just about figuring out what makes you unique and different. It's about being authentically you and consistently delivering on your brand promise. And above all, it's about leaving an impression that keeps your ideal audience coming back for more, right? That's the ultimate goal. Folks, thank you. Short and snappy episode today. Thank you for joining me on today's journey through the art of unforgettable branding. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and give it a review or a rating. We're going to be back next week with another action-packed episode to help you master your business. I'm Deirdre Martin, bidding you goodbye for now. Stay unforgettable.